30 years.
It's hard to stop a train.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash.
The cash you need is closer than you think.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500 at Check Into Cash.
You drive home with the cash in your pocket.
Visit Check Into Cash for an auto title loan today, or get a payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH. Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on WOOP FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Good morning, Debbie Moore. Tell me what's going on.
Good morning. It's raining.
Yep,
again.
and raining.
Raining
Well, at least
again.
it's not 16 degrees. Last week it was 16 degrees. This week it's raining. I think you said to me the other day is Tennessee's the only place that you can have a pair of shorts and your long johns in the same washing machine.
Yeah.
That's right.
52 weeks out of the year right here. If you don't like the weather today, just
Yeah,
hang
wait
around.
till
It'll be
tomorrow.
something different tomorrow. Ron, there's some things going on that I wanted to talk about before we
Go ahead.
got too far here. First of all, the museum, our friends down at the Museum Center at 5 Points, they have an exhibit about the first Ocoee churches, and you guys need to get down there and see it before it leaves on April the 4th. I understand there's lots of good pictures on display. Ron and I are going to go down there right after the show today to see what's going on. Also, the quilt show, which is very, very popular, opened last Thursday night, and it closes today. So you have to 4 p.m. today to go see the quilt show. And I understand there's the regular admission is charged to go in to see that if you're not a member. So the quilt show at the museum today, don't miss it. There's always lots of old quilts and new quilts. The new quilts really fascinate me too, but I love the old quilts too. Ron, we're going to do everything countryfied today.
Oh, Lord.
We have the kings of country here today. We have P-Dab and Doyle.
Good morning to everyone. Good morning.
Ron and I were planning this week's show, and I said, I'd just like to do something fun. And he said, well, call Doyle and P-Dab. So that's what we do when we want to do something fun.
Yeah, we try to do real good history, then we call Doyle and P-Dab.
Also, Ron, I just thought of something else.
Yeah.
The Booze Traveler will be on the Travel Channel today at noon for everyone that missed Ron and I's big national TV debut a couple of weeks ago. The Booze Traveler, we went up to Hole in the Wall, Tennessee at the racetrack and talked to them about the relationship between moonshining and race car driving. And I understand that's on Channel 49 if you're on Charter, and it's on 254 if you're on UVerse.
And we actually took him some Polk County moonshine that had some peaches soaking in it for 3 years. And we sampled it there on that because the Booze Traveler goes around the country sampling booze. And so we took him a sample of Tennessee moonshine.
Ron explained to him that if you're from Boston, as this little guy is, that you should really sip that Tennessee whiskey.
Yes.
But folks from Tennessee just
Drink it.
Chug it.
And
not
Ron
being a
drank
drinker, that was pretty tough.
Ron took that glass and he chugged about 2 ounces of that stuff, and I thought, dear Lord, and
it was the second and third take. It got fun.
But that's more whiskey than I'd seen Ron drink in 30 years.
And not only just about us or anything, they travel all across Tennessee, going to distilleries.
Very
and
nice show.
It was a great promotion of the state of Tennessee, although it talked a lot about booze. But it also talked about the baseball leagues that play here now, the
Vintage
baseball. They play by the early rules. One bounce counts as an out.
And the
Doyle, you'd
pitcher-
like that. When you be around baseball,
barehanded.
with one-handed, and your pitch, your job as a pitcher is to present the ball to the batter. You're not trying to strike him out. You want him to hit it. The game is played in the field, so it's usually underhand pitching, and
So you pitch it so they can hit it. There's no cussing and no spitting, and no sassy talking, because that would be all ungentlemanly. And I said, boy, baseball has changed.
but there's a team in Knoxville. There was a couple teams in Nashville. This year, they're actually a vintage baseball league team in Chattanooga now.
Yeah.
So it's becoming a thing all around there, and hopefully
They're going to be playing down at the 6th Cavalry coming up real soon, and we'll
right
let
across the line
everybody
down at Fort Oglethorpe.
we'll let everybody know, because we're definitely going to try to get down there for that game.
And then we had one of the players on last week, who's also the director of the Sequoia Museum, Charles Rodarmer. Got to get that name right. So
You have to be a certain age before you can play in that league.
I think
too.
it's 30
No,
and
not
above.
50 or
Your
something.
team has to be an average of 38 years old. I think is what
Yeah.
he said.
But,
and that
they-
keeps them from bringing in a whole team of 18-year-olds.
Right.
But now he said the oldest player was 74 or 70-something.
So, yeah, you're right. You have to be older, and they wear vintage-looking baseball uniforms. And
I thought they were wool, but actually they are
they did
old
make them
cotton.
look like wool, at least, but...
And there's a train ride. We need to find out about that too. That leaves like Calhoun's in Knoxville and goes out to a plantation on the outskirts of Knoxville, and
Where
they play
the
ball
game.
out there. And that sounds like a real fun trip.
Now, there is no... the Booze Traveler went and played ball with them, but there is no booze or beer there because this is a family thing. But afterwards, the teams might go have a beer, though. I
Right.
think what they were implying there. But they went to Gatlinburg. They found a couple old boys, and they took them up in the hills and showed them an old still that they used to run.
I tell you, I thought I sounded mighty country when that show came on, and there I was talking. But they showed Bruce and Gomer from Smoky Mountain Whiskey. And they made me look like a city slicker. Okay, let's get on with the show.
So, guys, I know you've been on here before, and people love you guys on here. And let's talk about killing hogs. I mean, I think you're getting ready to do that and invite your entire family out.
So is it?
Yeah,
how cold
I'm
does
in the
it have to
process
be?
now of raising 2 for the winter, and whenever it comes time to kill, we're going to notify the neighbors and the kids and the grandkids and my kids, my children that's never seen it done, and anybody that wants to come. We're going to have a hog killing it'll be out on Harris Creek Road.
About October?
It'll probably be about November, long about the last of November.
It's got to get cool before you can do that.
Yeah, and so I think that'll be quite an experience, and I'm going to get Pam, my wife, to film it because she's into that preserving history.
Well, we may have to have a live whoop program right from Harris Creek Road. What do you think?
That'll work for me
Yeah.
because we're going to do it on Saturday when the kids are out of school, and she's got films of her mother killing chickens and processing them from start to finish.
That's now you all you do is cut plastic and get it out of the Walmart bag.
That's right. And but I think that hog killing is going to be quite an experience, especially for the ones that's not ever done it.
Now, are you going to freeze the meat, or what are you going to do?
I'm going to cure it. I'm going to go all the way through the whole thing. I'm going to try to render the lard and everything. Do the whole 9 yards.
Make some souse meat.
No, I won't go that far.
You got to use it all there. Yeah,
Well, that you're supposed to cook it all but the
Are you
squeal.
gonna have any chitlins?
They'll be
Cracklin'?
there if anybody wants them. But now I'll not be having any.
Well, yeah.
The cracklins are a
I
different
used to
story.
wonder about chitlins and everything. Heard about them. Then after I seen Dirty Jobs on one of the cable channels, and he was helping clean chitlins.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized exactly what chitlins was and the process, and I decided don't think I really want chitlins.
Mhm. Yep.
No, you can't get rid of the smell. It don't
I
matter
don't-
how many times you cook them.
And
Uh,
Now,
they-
I'll eat cracklins though.
There was a boy that I worked with. He brought some to work one time, and he put them in the microwave, and it ran everybody out there. He said, "Oh Lord," said, "I had to take my dinner up on the hill and eat it, so they couldn't nobody stand where I was at."
Doyle, did you ever do the hog thing?
Well, we did it a few times at my place. My granddad, Parmer, and my grandmother lived in Chattanooga, and traditionally we did that around Thanksgiving, and they would come up and we'd do it. Now, my other granddad, George Bancroft, who had the farm over there where the Tri-State Center is,
Yeah.
he always grew several hogs. And, of course, I was a younger guy then and didn't take as much part in it. But I would warn people before they begin, if they're going to render lard, it's all day and dinner on the ground.
It sure is.
You just have to
I have
have
done that with an axe,
a little
the handle of an axe.
and just a little fire under there, just a flicker that's about to go out. Because if you get it too hot, your lard will not be white, and people won't appreciate it. So you have to do it slow and easy.
Now, let me just ask you a question. We probably hadn't used lard at our house in ever. So,
Not much, no.
Does people still really use just
Not around here. They might do it on up in the mountains or somewhere where they still.
Now, I used to remember my mom we used to buy it in the store, and I can't remember the name brands and everything like
You
that.
could buy it in a
Crisco lard.
Crisco,
in a
yeah.
bucket.
Yeah.
Come in a bucket, in a 5-pound bucket, and a 10-pound bucket, and
I don't remember my mom buying it in a bucket, but I remember her buying it in the can that you tore the little key off, and then you had to run that key all the way around the can, and it was really hard to get off, I thought. Yeah.
But,
But then she always used her bacon drippings
yeah.
and the lard.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in processing your
Good lard.
own meat. People think, well, it's just go out there and knock the hair off of one and you've got it made.
No.
That's just a part of it. That's just the beginning.
My dad used to sugar cure hams,
Yeah.
and he explained it all to me one time, and I was going to do it, and of course, he passed away as a young man. He passed away, so I never got a chance to really learn his technique of doing sugar cured hams. One of those things you wish you had listened more when as you get older.
Yeah.
And remember how Grandpa used to graft roses and all that kind of stuff. But so, what is when you kill a hog? What's the most important thing you got to do?
Good hot water.
You gotta have hot. You gotta have water at
All that
about
thing.
180.
Wow.
Yeah.
Almost
If
boiling.
if you have it too hot, you'll set the hair and you'll cook the meat. And you've got to have it just right where that hair slips, and about 175, 180, I think.
Now, what are you going to put
Yeah.
that water in, P-Dab?
Well, if I can't find an old killing vat, I'll just be a 55-gallon barrel
Okay.
and build
Okay.
a fire around it and get the water hot. And you'll have to have a thermometer there to test it. The old timers used to take 2 fingers and run it through there. If you could run it through there 3 times without it scarring you, it was okay. I mean, that was their way of testing
Well, and they probably eyeball
That's
it,
a
too.
tough test if you were wrong, right?
it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, explain to our listeners is you got to do it when it's cold, but you got to have hot water. Explain why
Right.
you have to have the two there.
Well, the hot water is for slipping the hair.
Mm-hmm.
Cold weather is to keep your meat from spoiling.
So, because you didn't have cooler or something immediately when you're not in a controlled environment when you're
Yeah,
cooking,
you
right?
want it. You want it cool enough to where your meat won't spoil, and it'll cool out and get rid of all the animal heat and everything before you start Well, this process is a lot better. You can trim your shoulders and hams and middlings up a lot better the cooler it is. What you usually do is kill them maybe one day, and the next day, if it's going to be real cool, let it cool out till the next morning, and then trim them out is the best way. And that way, when you trim them out, you throw your fat meat in one pile and your lean meat in another pile for your sausage, and so it's and you have to process the bone, the ribs and the backbones and things. That can go immediately, as quick as you get done killing.
So, what do you keep the pig's feet and all that stuff?
You can. We have.
I think that
I
meant.
wish y'all could have
if you
seen
see
the
his
look
face,
on
that was,
Pig's
no, I don't keep them.
There's.
But now somebody wants a chitlins, you can get them, right?
Yeah. And
Well,
we used to have people would come to get the head. They'd take the whole head, and that's what they made the South meat out of, because it had all that gel in it and everything that held it together, and it had enough fat and enough lean in it to make it bond together. And they would cook that head down, and
so just you need to probably just call Matador.
I've seen my dad do that.
Matador probably will take the chitlins and the head for you.
yeah, probably would.
Yeah, and I think they still make South meat over at Vest Grocery, don't they?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know if they make it. It's
It's
over there.
they call it up in Pennsylvania. They call it scrapple.
I call it.
Yeah.
I'm not a South meat fan.
My father-in-law was from Pennsylvania, and he said what we call South meat is what they call scrapple up there, and he loved it. He would take it and cut him off a slice of it and fry it to heat it up. And
What about you, Doyle? You a South meat fan?
I was a South meat fan. It was good. I ate it. We didn't throw anything away, Ron. That was during hard times. And traditionally, hog killing was around Thanksgiving. And it was very common to drive around this area, Bradley, McMinn, Hamilton, and see them hanging up out there. People taking care of them after the cooler weather.
Doyle, how
moved
did they
in.
preserve the South meat?
they cooked it.
I mean, you
Oh, yeah,
cooked
they
it, but
cooked
then was it like it was canned, or was it? Did you keep it in the spring house,
Well,
or
we had a meat box that we kept meat in that was salted down, and some of it was sugared. I'm really not positive of where we kept our South meat.
see? I always remember seeing it just
Somebody
in the
will
refrigerator.
call in a few minutes and tell us where they.
Yeah, we
keep
just
their-
kept ours in the refrigerator.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have a refrigerator.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We had an ice box.
I remember
and-
opening up the freezer, and that pig would be looking at me too.
Where did you get your ice at back when you had an ice box?
Back when we had an ice box, we had Cleveland Ice Company, and they had a truck, and they had a fellow that would come around maybe 2 times a week, and if we weren't going to be at home, we had a little clock dial. We'd put it on 50 pound, leave 50 cents or whatever the charge was on top of the box, and he'd put it in for us while we were gone.
And some places had a card that had 25 pound, 50 pound, 100 pound. And you just, whatever you wanted, you displayed that number.
And it would, amazingly, those boxes were insulated very tight, and it would hold up, but they would stay on us continuously about keeping that door closed.
Yeah.
Don't leave that door open. Close it. Keep the ice from melting.
So 50-pound block would last how long? Now, in the summertime, it'd probably shorter period than the winter.
It'd go away quicker in July and August, but that's the reason they were running twice a week then. And then later on, maybe just once a week.
And that's one of the reasons you kept your ice box on the back porch.
In the shade.
Yeah.
Kept it in the shade.
You didn't keep it in the kitchen where the
Cooking was going
where
on.
the cooking was going on. You kept it in the back porch where stayed outside. And that way it kept it
Doyle, when you was a young man, How did your mom launder the clothes?
Well, for a long time, we had some wash tubs and a rub board. And it was my job to carry wash water.
Get
And,
water. You thought your name was Get Water?
Well, I knew it was, and I dreaded Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever day she was going to wash because I had to carry the water. But we had 3 or 4 tubs, and we had one tub that had the soapy water in it, and then we had one we put the clothes over to start wrenching them, and then the third tub would be the final wrench, and then we had a clothesline across the backyard, and we would pin those clothes on the line, and they would get dry. And then back then, we had a ironing board, and a lot of the clothes had to be ironed. Didn't have permanent press, and so she had a starch solution. She'd put on some of them to iron them. My mother did most of the ironing.
My mom would put the starch on and roll them up and put them down in the crisper drawer of the refrigerator till she could get to them. And she would put my dad's, he called them his dungarees, his blue jeans, on those pants things over in the corner. And they'd be standing up when you take those pants things. And she'd starch them.
Pant stretchers.
And
Oh,
he'd
I
put them
remember
on. He
those.
could barely walk.
Yeah.
Heading off to Dixie Foundry.
And then I remember my dad had shoe stretchers too. Do you ever?
Yeah.
I mean, why did you have to have shoe stretchers? I never did figure that out. Was it the leather was all shoes really leather back then? And
Yeah, they were pure leather.
They
and
were
when
pure leather.
whenever they got wet, they would draw up.
Oh, okay.
So I always seen my dad use them. I'm going, what in the devil are those for?
And they weren't insulated. They were brogans, what's called brogans, and they were pure cowhide leather. And there was a couple of grades of it. The lesser grade was hard. It was hard as that tabletop when it got wet. And then you had a better grade that the upper class wore.
I remember seeing patent leather and naugaryhide when I was little, and I was wondering-
Naugaryhide.
Naugaryhide. I was wondering what kind of cow that stuff came from.
Yeah, it takes a good million Naugas to make a pair of shoes.
Back to the clothes on the line, I can remember in the wintertime when it was freezing, that those clothes would just freeze stiff and eventually freeze dry. And,
I remember going out and getting them off the line, and you could barely carry them because they were so
Yeah.
big because they were frozen.
That
But see now, and even after we got married and I got a clothesline, it just absolutely drove me nuts that insects would get on your clothes and stuff. But we just didn't think anything about it. I mean, that's just the way it was.
I remember as a boy putting them on the line, there's never any insects on them.
Well,
I think here just the times have changed and insects got.
did your mom always have a dryer, Ron?
No, we had when we lived down on the corner of Spring Place and Durkee Road, we had a clothesline back there next to the grapevines. Matter of fact, so all the insects were on our grapevines.
I think, matter of fact, we recently donated her 1950s dryer. It was still operating.
Yeah,
to one of the local
and my
places.
mom had one of the very first microwaves come out. It was about the size of a truck, and my
I
dad brought
couldn't
it
pick it up.
home, and it was a Mana radar range, and
1976.
it's still working today after all those years. So, and
Well,
I don't know how much radiation it was putting out in the room.
It sounds like it's putting a lot out.
Yeah, but we have officially retired that one now. But it was a product that lasted a long time, and they were about $800 back in those days, and which was a lot of money. Now you can get them for $39, and
They're disposable.
everything's disposable these days.
And we used to live at Tasso up there, and I can remember my mother. I was just a baby then. My mother would. She said we used to. She would hang the clothes on the line, and she would listen for the train.
Yeah.
And said when the train comes, said she had to get the clothes in because all that soot would land on the clothes, and from the steam engine.
I remember seeing my grandmother too with her little apron on that she always kept her clothespins in, And then she had some gizmo that went up on the line that she could pull along that had clothespins in it.
Yeah,
that I think all homemade
I
things.
just bought one of them yesterday.
I remember that now. I wouldn't hey, folks, you're listening to Old Town Cleveland here.
Somebody's phone's ringing. P-Dab, is that you?
Yeah, but I'm not going
The
to
music's
That music is brought to you by
You're
P-Dab.
listening to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9. You can go to the internet at www, and we're opening up the phones right now here, 614-5553. We got P-Dab Matthews and Doyle Palmer here, and I got some interesting questions
And
for him here in a
matter
few
of
minutes.
fact, folks, if you happen to go to the quilt show, it closes. It's open now, and it closes at 4. Tell them you heard us talking about the museum on Old Town Cleveland.
Let me ask you a question, a little bit out of country, but, this was a rural area, and, a lot of time it was farmers, and then, of course, back at the turn of the century, back in the 1880s, hardwood closed, and people started working in factories. What happened when Bowaters came to this area? You all were living here when Bowaters, and that was early 1950 or late 58. What did you see happen in our community at that time?
Well, the worst thing is I believe they hadn't been open long, and they had just that smell drifted down the holler. Well, people started hunting their septic tank, thought they'd overflown, and
as a boy, I remember, of course now Bowaters over the years, new technologies, and I don't think I've smelled Bowaters in years, but it used to be, if the wind blew right, you could smell it downtown Cleveland.
Well, if it was cloudy, it held it in like a pot lid, and you could smell it all the way down in the southeast corner.
Hello, folks, or caller, you're on Old Town Cleveland.
Well, good morning, Ronnie and Debbie.
Good morning.
Good morning, boy. You're calling early this morning. What's going on, sister?
I got up early because I felt like I was going to hear something good today. I didn't want to miss it.
This is stuff you can't read about in books. That's what I've decided.
And I'm telling you, when I heard that little feller's voice out this morning, I said, I know why I got up at 4.
There you go.
So I know I'll have a good day today.
Yeah,
I just wanted to call in and tell you that he's always good, and I wish he's all down every Saturday because I enjoy him.
You enjoy P-Dab and Doyle. Do you, I imagine you've hung a few clothes out on the line in your lifetime.
Oh, yeah. when I had my children, they didn't use them old diapers. I washed my diapers and hung them on the line.
Yeah, I remember my daddy taking them down to the creek, or him talking about taking them down to the creek, and he would rinse them out and wash them out real good in the little creek before my mom's laundry day.
Right.
Yeah. That cold water.
Well, I have washed my little sister's diaper, and I thought she's the stinkiest thing I ever seen in my life.
And I still do a lot of cooking. I don't eat out because I don't like some of the stuff now.
Let me ask her a question, Ron.
Go ahead.
But
hang on just a second. Doyle's going to ask you a question.
Pardon?
You say you do a lot of cooking. What kind of pie are you going to make today?
I'm not going to make no pie today.
You're not? This is National Pie Day. You need to make a pie.
Yeah, and Doyle and I'll come help you. Test them.
I hate to get started on it, but I just got out of the hospital here about 3 weeks ago, and my foot's not wanting to cooperate with me too well.
I told you what to do about that.
Yeah, Ron told her to go get her some Jack Daniels, and
I know, but I passed up by his house yesterday or day before, and he wasn't even there, and he won't share nothing with me.
She said her neighbor had the Jack Daniels.
Yeah, he had. And my neighbor up above me, she's got a little bottle of it, but she's never opened it.
But now I told her it won't cure her foot problem, but she'll forget about it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've never had a drink in my life.
Well, it's just about time.
Well, no, my dad never did drink, so I never did either.
Yeah, that's good policy to have.
I don't drink wine, I don't drink beer, and I don't drink whiskey. I never have.
And don't run around with boys who do.
I'm too lazy now. Too old now to start drinking.
Well, now, see, it's not drinking if you'll put it in a little jar and put a little honey in it, that's medicine.
Yeah, probably like the cough syrups you get.
Yeah,
now.
that's cough syrup.
Well, darling, we'll play your song when we go off there, okay?
Let me
Go ahead.
tell you this, Ron.
Okay.
I use that honey. I keep honey here all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I do that. If I get bronchitis or anything, I mix me up a little bit.
Yep. That honey's good for you.
Yeah, I eat it every morning on a piece of toast.
There you go.
Well, just add a little Jack Daniels to it, and you got it going.
No.
You little pig.
You know, it helps you cough, and I'm going, I need to drink. All right. We'll see.
Good day.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's already. So bye-bye.
Bye-bye, dear.
So, Doyle, do you remember the stink or the bow water? And it started cutting a lot of trees down here, too, didn't we?
I remember the odor from bow water, but some of us considered it to smell like money.
Yeah.
Wow.
They really brought a lot of jobs to our town. They brought a lot of wealth, really,
Sure did.
to our people.
There's a 1958 movie out that shows the inside of the plant and the outside of the plant, and them showing kind of the town before and the town after. And it's a pretty interesting little thing, and somebody found it and saved it.
We do have pictures of that area before it was Bowaters, and it was, I can't remember the name of the farm there, but it's pretty interesting. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
It's RD.
Hey, RD. What's up, buddy?
Oh, sitting here listening to you this morning. Remember the beet story I told you?
Yeah. Oh, sure do.
Okay, that father, Bob and Donna, the father of the boy that ate the beets, they stayed in Cleveland years ago, back in the 70s, I think they're coming through, up at the Holiday Inn. Mm-hmm. And he swears up and down he'll never come back here again.
Because he can smell it.
Bad. Yeah, darn bad, pardon me. But you were talking earlier about killing hogs. I told you before, I moved here. Our family grew up in Dixon County, West Nashville. But one time, for about 5-6 years, we were as poor as dirt as well. We lived in a house with no running water. We had electricity, had a wood stove. We had to bathe in the creek till we run a pipe up to the house and put an old bathtub and a toilet in so you couldn't drink the water. I had to go every day after school. My job was getting water jugs and hoofing it about, I don't know, maybe 3/4 mile to my great-grandfather's house. He had an artesian spring, and I'd fill up the water jugs and bring them back and split wood. I was 11, 12, 13. I'd split wood, get the fire going in the wood stove, and, fall and winter, and then if I had any daylight left, I'd grab my .22 and take off up into the woods behind the house, try to pot a squirrel or rabbit, and we lived like that. But so I'm only 54, and I remember the days you're talking about. It was hard living, and we killed hogs. We kept hogs up my Uncle Bill's place, and we would kill hogs as well. I remember we would do it in the cold. It'd have to be after the second big cold snaps. We'd make sure it was nice and cold. And it was kind of a family affair. We had Uncle Sam Roberts would come down, and everybody bring their hogs, and the adults would try to shoot them in the head, and they'd try to use .22 short. And the trick was try to kill it with one shot right between the eyes. They said if you took more than one shot, it started squealing, it'd curdle the meat. I don't know what that ever meant.
I'd heard that.
I couldn't never tell no difference.
Maybe that it would trample you.
It could be.
Better be a good shot.
But we shoot the hogs, and had big hanging hooks up there, used like a double tree from a horse-drawn plow or something like that, and we'd hang them up, gut them, then let them sit overnight, like you said, in the cold. First I think we'd gut them, and I believe we'd roll them off. He had a 55-gallon drum that was cut in half lengthwise, set up on rocks, and we'd build a big fire underneath it. And I remember the old guys sticking their fingers in there, but I never did know what they were doing, but that makes sense now you saying that. I don't never remember a thermometer. But so you'd roll them in there, get the hair and all the grime, the filth softened up, and then it was the kids' job to scrape them. had to scrape the dead pig, and of course the little one, or the most gullible one, or the one you could bully enough, he got to scrape the squeal. Nobody wanted to scrape the squeal. So we get that done. I remember we'd butcher. We had a smokehouse. We'd salt cure our own hams, bacons, stuff like that.
Well, that bacon sure was good, wasn't it?
Oh, that was. I'm actually planning. I got some problems myself right now, but I'm planning on building a little smokehouse down here on my property, just to do it. Now, my grandfather always used mules to plow his garden with. I've still got in front of my house his old Oliver number 10 plow. It needs repair, handles, but he would not allow a tractor in his garden site. He would not allow. He'd tell me, and I was too young to realize that. He'd say a tractor will ruin a garden. If you take a tractor in, it ruins it. I've never understood what he was talking about until, he'd always use his mules to go back and forth and then a tiller. That old man would be out there in August in a pair of green overalls, old coveralls, and working, just sweating. But he was a tough bird. But I never understood until I started gardening what he was talking about, the tractor ruining the garden. But I finally figured out when I started gardening that it crushes the subsoil and won't allow the water to flow down and the nutrients to flow up in that layer below where you can get to with a tiller. Whereas the mule wouldn't, and plus he said the mule automatically fertilizes the garden as it goes. But I've still got all his old mule tack and the mule harness here. But he would try to tell me, I'd be 14, 15, and he would try to tell me, he'd say, come on here, I want to show you how to work these mules. This is something you need to know. He had a team. And man, he could click and talk to them mules and back them up, turn them this way, yee-haw, this and that. And he said, come on, I want to show you this. You need to know this. This will come in handy one day. And I was like, Grandpa, I don't want to, I want to be out chasing skirts. I don't want to be chasing two mules around in a circle.
A lot better view. A lot.
Yeah, and I was stupid. And at 54 years, of course, he's long gone now. Mm-hmm. And I wish I would have paid attention and learned how to do that.
I think that's the great thing about what the folks up in Clayton, Georgia did when they did the Foxfire books. They captured that generation, how they did things and why they did things. And I about wore the covers off of mine.
Well, thank you.
To find this set, but I've
been there, done that, haven't you, R.D.?
I've lived those times, believe me. It was cold in the winter. When you got out of bed in the winter, you didn't know we had hardwood floors. Problem was they were rough sawn, and you could see the dirt between them under the house. And when you got out of bed in the winter time, you didn't dilly-dally in your bedroom. You beat feet to the kitchen stove, that wood stove.
That's right.
And you got ready. So listen, y'all, thank you.
Thanks,
thank you for calling in. Right,
I heard just this week where the saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, came from. It was that they'd take the old wash tub and they'd fill it up with water, and they'd start with the oldest person, or the daddy would take his bath first, and then they'd go down the line and all the children would take a bath, and then they'd put the baby in the bath last. And that's where it comes from, is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right. I had never heard where that came from to this week, and I thought, how nasty, I would have washed the baby first.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, this is T-Band.
Hey, T. I bet you done a thing or two like this.
I'm enjoying the program because I've done that and done there.
Been there, done that again and again.
Yeah, we used to kill a lot of hogs, and we took them to Bobby Orr's daddy that lived over on Patterson. No.
Lived up there off of North Lee Highway.
Yeah, he lived off of North Lee Highway.
Yeah.
And
what would he do with the hogs, T?
He had a great big pot that he put them in. It's the reason we took them over there. We have done it at the house, but we usually hauled them over there, and he'd hang them up and skin them and everything. Mm-hmm.
He would, he done it for the public. Mm-hmm. And I've been up there a time or two when he would have 25 or 30 hogs strung out on a pole. And he would do any manner that you wanted. If you wanted it killed and dressed, he would do that, or he would cut it up. You know, it just depended on how much money you had. And
Robert was good. He's a big old feller, but he was a good one.
Yeah,
I believe he was Santa Claus here at the mall in his later years.
Oh, yeah. Now, I remember when Bowaters moved in, we had to quit raising cotton because our cotton pickers went to Bowater.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, a lot of things changed in those days.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of things changed in those days. I used to plow with a mule, and plow cotton and corn, tobacco. We raised a lot of tobacco, cotton. And, no, I got a fish truck coming March 28th, Debbie.
Okay. Well, I hope you have pretty weather that day. That'll be 2 Saturdays from now, or, week after next. And what time will they be there? About 11?
11 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay. And it's best if people go ahead and call you and order.
Yeah, it's better to call them and order them.
Then they make sure they get what they want. Tell them what number to call.
478-2405.
And if T doesn't happen to answer the phone, you leave him a message and he'll call you back.
Yeah, I will. I'll be glad to, because I need every nickel I can get.
There you go.
Well, that wife of yours spend it like it's going out of town.
Yeah.
All righty, T. Thanks for calling, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Enjoying the show.
Thank you. Doyle, how far did you ever go on a train?
0 miles on a train.
There
Debbie.
you go.
Never
What about
been
you,
on
Pete?
one.
I never rode a train.
Well, by the time we got up to any age, the trains had already stopped passenger travel.
Yeah, the problem is right now trains. Well, you have to go to Atlanta or Nashville, and they don't go exactly. If you want to go to New Orleans, you'd have to take this unbelievable weird route. I would like to take a trip from Atlanta to New Orleans on a train.
But it
Sound
goes
like a
all the
blast.
way up to like Maine, not Maine. It doesn't go quite. I don't remember now.
DC.
It goes up to maybe it was
Towards
DC.
Then it comes back.
And then it comes all the way back down and goes to New Orleans or Louisiana somewhere, and then it would come back to Atlanta.
So
Now, I'll take that back.
Uh-oh.
Me and my wife did go to Blue Ridge and caught that train back to McCaysville, Georgia. I told her, I said, this is the stupidest thing I have ever done. We called a bus here, went through the Copperhill, McCaysville, Blue Ridge, got on a train, come back to McCaysville, spent our money, got back on that train and went back to Blue Ridge,
and then drove back
and
through
then
it.
come back to the same town that we just rode that train through. I said, now this has got to be the dumbest thing I have ever done in my
and
life.
You paid to do that.
And paid to do it.
Well, we drove up to the Etowah L&N station, and they put us on a little van and drove us back to G Creek. And G Creek's where we caught the train, and it took us to Farner and then back, which was pretty neat because we went around that loop. It's just really, really slow. We're used to doing things a little bit faster these days. And when we got back, they put us back on the van and drove us to the L&N station. And I'm kind of thinking, well, they kind of should have told me I could just park at G Creek. That would have saved me some time. But they are having a special excursion for their 125th anniversary, I think, leaving the L&N station. They have just put a new display out about the L&N history. And there's a train going to run in April. And we're trying to get somebody from Tennessee Overhills to come talk to us about that.
Yeah. The Bowaters, when going back to that, how many years did it take to build that plant, or was it now today it seems like it takes you longer to build things, although we modernize it, but there's not any regulations back then. They could just build it and go.
I'm thinking it took, what do you think, Doyle? Three years?
Probably 3 year.
Yeah.
That was sort of off of my beat. I lived in the southern end of the county, southwestern end, and we didn't get up that way much, but it probably about 3 years from groundbreaking until they opened it.
Do you guys remember if when they opened it, was the bridge right there at it, or was the bridge a little bit east of there?
It was a little bit upriver of it. The old bridge was way up there.
Okay.
Up
East?
there.
Or it would have to be east.
Yeah, east upriver. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a 2-lane bridge.
Yeah. That's on the old highway then, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Old
Where
road.
it took that really sharp curve and then went across the bridge.
Yeah.
And they kept having a lot of wrecks there. And I don't know when they put that bridge out there, the concrete bridge. I know that there was a Fort Cass marker right there at the bridge, and it
we know that
disappeared.
Charleston High School had to move positions because Charleston High School used to sit down where Bradley High School, where the highway is now.
Yes. In
So-
1917,
Yeah,
I think it was.
so
It moved over a little bit.
Yeah, moved up the hill.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, see, the old highway went down.
See, it went
right
down. mhm.
downtown Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
The old.
The old Charleston, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's all these
What
reports
do they call
about
it? Water Street now?
Water Street goes east to west. I guess that might be Broad Street.
Broader Main?
Broader, I don't know.
I don't know. Someone
But
calls her in a
you
minute.
know, it's part of the old concrete highway,
It's-
and
yeah.
thankfully
Yeah.
it's been saved. But at some point in time, there was so many people marring down in the mud that they built the road over there to the west where it runs in front of the school now. And I understand, folks, that the National Park Service signs are in Charleston, and maybe the road department's helping putting them up.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
woohoo! We finally
We're
get
go-
some
we're gonna
historical
get some
markers
really
up there.
some good history. Say, let me ask this question about the good old days. On my screen right now, I have a picture of a 2-hole outhouse. Now, I guess the family that goes together stays together. I don't know, but I'm not sure that was exactly what they meant. But why would you have a 2-hole outhouse?
Well, the
Very
only
big
time
family.
I can remember having maybe a 2, maybe a 3 was at the public school. Didn't it, Doyle?
At Moore's we did.
You had
We had
yeah.
multiple.
And
Somebody online says to
That was
encourage
just-
each other.
it's just a way of life. That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And the thing about those things, the men in the community built them and took care of things like that. And
Now, did you have a men's and women, or you just have an outhouse?
At the
I had a man
at
and
the-
a woman.
At
Okay.
the school, we had boys and girls. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't men and women then. It was,
Okay.
it was
Boys
boys and
Well,
girls.
down at Red Hill United Methodist Church, when they put their indoor plumbing in, they didn't put it in probably to the late 60s, early 70s. They left their old outhouse out there, and it says men's on one side and women's on the other. And, of course, they've got it all locked up now. But I was glad that they didn't tear it down. But there was a real art to outhouses. You had to know where to put
Yeah.
it, that it didn't contaminate your well water.
Right.
And you had to know where the old ones were.
And you wanted to get as close to the house as possible, didn't you? Or
But
far away
that
from
you-
the
yeah.
house.
Well, you kept it. Oh,
Ours was at least 100 feet from the back door.
yeah, it was.
Minimum. And your water supply had to be a factor. Didn't want to be right above it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but
Yeah.
so I didn't know, like on those cold nights, wouldn't you like it had been like 50 feet away?
Yeah.
So do you know you was country if you had to put on your shoes and go to the bathroom?
It depended on what you had to do.
Yeah, I'll tell you that a funny story out of Copper Hill is when we've interviewed the people up there for the little documentary we're doing. There's one lady that said she tells you the year, I don't know, late 50s, I think, that the company came through and put indoor plumbing in all the company houses, and there was one man that refused to let them put a bathroom in his house. He said that was just nasty and unsanitary, and you shouldn't have a restroom in your house.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so funny.
Well, my grandpa built an extra addition on to his house down in Tinga,
Everybody
Georgia,
did that,
to
yeah.
put the indoor plumbing in because we sure didn't put it inside the house. It was still actually outside the house as
Yeah.
such. You had to go out on the back porch and take a left, go to Granddad's toilet. So, but it was according to what you had to do.
I had an uncle that was like that. He wouldn't put indoor plumbing in. He put water in, but as far as the toilet, They, like I said, they built an addition onto the house out that you had to go out back, to it.
Well, the water, how you got the water into your house and into your chicken houses and to your barns, and how you ventilated your house. It was a real art.
It was.
Yes.
And a lot of it was gravity. the water, whenever they would pipe the water in, it was gravity. They would find a spring up on the side of the hill somewhere, and they would pipe that water in. Well, it ran all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It would just run in and run out. And my uncle that lived up in before you get to Owl Holler up there, I can remember going to their house. They let a water bucket stay full all the time, and it water run all the time in that house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you had a spring, that's great, and you guys lived out on the west side, and with a lot of springs out in that area. Of course, Bradley County's a lot of springs. What if you lived somewhere where you had to dig a well? I mean, today, if you need a well, or you used to, you'd call Calfee well drilling, and you would just go in there and do that. You're playing music again over there, P-Dad. How did you dig a well back in?
By hand. You dug it by hand.
I mean, how did you keep it from caving in on you? I mean, did you have to
Well,
drill a wider?
Gases build
Sometimes they rocked it as it went down.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it depends on the type of dirt they were in. If they was in good clay dirt, they wouldn't have that problem of it caving in right away. But some of the things they would rock them as they went down.
So now, water may not be 25 feet down; it may be 100 feet. Did you dig down 100 feet?
I don't know of
any
any hand dug wells that was that deep. Back then, our water table was a whole lot closer to the top than it is now.
Well, we hadn't used as much of it, right?
That's right.
I mean, now every time we put another house in, we either cutting the water source off or we're putting a bigger demand on it.
Yeah.
Because all that water we had to get that water from somewhere, and
yeah.
Still, our water plants still are taking the water from the ground and rainwater and wherever you can get a water source from, right?
But I can remember my dad digging well, and sometimes they'd dig a dry well.
Whew.
They just have to abandon it and go somewhere else. It would take weeks to dig it. I mean, it was. I just can't imagine falling out there now with a pick and shovel and digging straight down 45 feet.
I remember people coming and getting my papaw to go
water witch.
He could do that, and he'd go off with an old peach branch or something and come back.
Now,
we found water.
Now, do all of you believe that actually worked?
I do.
Under there somewhere, there's a water supply.
Mm-hmm. And in some places in Bradley County, there's huge water supplies.
Huge water supplies.
What about digging graves? There was an art form to that too. You just didn't dig. Have y'all witnessed that?
Well,
yeah.
The men in the community used to get together and have a grave digging. Now, we dug them deeper then than we do now because we didn't use vaults.
Mm-hmm.
Back then,
now, when they got down to the bottom, they would sometimes dig the hole the exact size of the coffin.
Well, normally, the ones I remember, there was a little border. They knew how large the casket would be, and they would leave a little border so that it would go down and fit.
You just lowered it down with ropes, didn't you?
They just lowered it down with 2 ropes.
Yeah.
And you had grave diggers in mine and Ron's lifetime. We knew who the grave diggers were. Basically, every cemetery had grave diggers.
Bingham's.
The Bingham's.
Bingham's used to do that, and I think in the hot months they did a lot of it after dark, at night when it was cooler.
They could dig a grave in pretty good. I understand now that everything was 6 feet. Now they're getting down just digging at 4 feet.
4 feet.
4.5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
With a vault.
Delmore, Peanut Moore's son, he does it. He's got a little.
The Kubota.
Yeah, Kubota, little backhoe, little tiny backhoe, and he does. I guess he's still doing that.
Yeah, Dale's still doing that. He bought the service that Junior Scoggins had. Junior did that, and also Jim Wright, Dr. Reed Wright's son, which I hate to mention this, but they're having his funeral today.
okay.
He's passed away. He was a local minister,
Mm-hmm.
and Jim digs for some of the funeral homes, and Dale digs for some of them.
Yeah, I remember when Bingham, he lived right up here at the graveyard at Fort Hill, and he was probably dug most of the graves, and him and his boys could, and they had a set of arms on them.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
they
Oh
did.
my goodness!
They were very strong.
Yeah.
That's
How-
we've come a long way, boy.
Oh, we come a
How,
long way.
Yeah,
how
we
deep
have.
was how deep was the hole for the outhouse?
It varied. It just depends how long you want to leave it there, I guess.
Depending how many people be using it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
And they
it's
would just, when it got to be a problem, they just kind of moved the
Yeah.
outhouse.
move,
you
move
start
over
digging
just
the
a
new
little
hole.
ways, and what you would do would most of the time would take the dirt out of this one, cover this one up with,
Yeah.
and move the outhouse over just.
And
a
see,
little
that's
bit.
one of the first in the old
The
archaeological.
next year you put the garden over that.
Yeah, well, no.
Well,
they
whatever.
couldn't.
It took a while to get to it,
In
but
the archaeological digs, that's one of the places that they look for because people would often throw broken stuff.
yeah, fill them up with garbage.
Fill 'em up
fill
with
'em up
garbage. And so when you start doing archaeological digs, that's one of the places that you dig.
Right. And you can tell when you get to one, the dirt will be a different color.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's my grandmother's place. They fill the old hand dug well up with just household garbage. People throwing something away, they would take it and throw it in there, and
See, that's why in the trenches now, when people are metal detecting, they often look for the trenches that the soldiers used for toilets. At that time, because when they got ready to move out, that's where you put the stuff that you didn't want your enemy to, necessarily pick up.
Right.
And they wouldn't go dig through the stuff to get it. But that's one of the places that you look for broken swords and that kind of stuff.
I wanted to say last time you was on here, we talked about what was the proper thing to use in the woods if you didn't have toilet paper. And I thought to remind you, it's smooth rocks.
yeah.
It may not have been the cleanest thing, but it sure was the most.
That's the only time I've
pleasurable.
ever talked about going to the bathroom for 2 solid hours.
Go ahead, call you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
You was talking about digging graves at Fort Hill Cemetery. They dig those 8 foot deep.
Oh, that was deep, wasn't it?
Well, they do that because they bury them on top.
Oh,
okay.
if they're going to bury somebody on top, like in the Veterans Park.
Yeah.
Man and wife.
Yeah,
I think it's 3 feet wide, 6 feet long, 8 foot deep.
yeah. I think that might be the truth about those.
Me and my brother, we used to go around. Dale used to get covered up, and me and my brother, he'd called us to go cover them. Because if he had about 4 or 5 graves a day, they ain't no way to be at all places. So we used to go cover them up for Dale.
Yeah, you have to cover them up pretty fast.
Well, I had to quit that because my back gave out on me.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we've been worried about where you been. We hadn't heard you in a while.
I've been. My legs gave out on me. I don't know what's been the problem with them. And I had to quit one of my medicines, and now they're starting to come back on me. I just couldn't hardly walk there for a while.
Uh-oh.
But,
That's not good. It's pool season's coming up. You got to get better.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to call in. Red told me he was asking about me.
Yeah, we've been concerned about you.
Well, everything's doing a little better now, so I'm going to be all right.
All righty, sounds good.
We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
We done thought somebody put him in a
Passed
hole.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of laid low here lately.
Yeah. Guys, do y'all remember a historical marker being up where the Cherokee Hotel is now? One of the black and white. No, I promise people keep telling me that there was one there, but I can't find a picture of it nowhere.
Go ahead, call you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hi, I'd like to know if you could give me the Red Cross number in Cleveland.
The Red Cross number?
Darling, we're live on the air, and no, we can't. Sorry.
We don't even have a phone book here, but it's the American Red Cross, and someone will probably call us here in a minute and give it to us, and just listen, and we'll give it out if they call us. How's that?
Yeah, I need some assistance.
Someone's saying just to call 211.
Or is it 311?
She put 211.
try that 211, and that might be able to give you the information.
I don't know. Sorry, we can't help you. Thank
you.
We get them all.
Hey, it's time for us to take a break here, Deb.
Woo, this hour's passed quickly.
It has, and we got to take our morning break. And every morning we always play Gone Home for people who've passed in our community.
You are listening
Read
to
Right, was he the-
WOOP-LP,
Wait, hang on.
Tennessee. Whoop FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash. The cash you need is closer than you think.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500 at Check Into Cash.
You drive home with the cash in your pocket.
Visit Check Into Cash for an auto title loan today, or get a payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH. Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
If you need a little green, Lending Frog is making deals. He'll lend you cash on any kind of wheels. Borrow just a little, or you can borrow big. Lending Frog is a new financial gig. It's hip to hop into cash. LendingFrog.com is making a splash. Dig it, dig it. Dig it, dig it.
Hello, my name is Andy Figglestaller with Ed Jacobs & Associates. We are an employee benefit and insurance broker in business for the past 20 years. The new healthcare law, also known as Obamacare, has finally arrived. The law is complex and the choices are confusing. You have questions, we have the answers. It is our passion to find cost-effective solutions for every client. The solutions will be different for every person or business. Let our knowledge, experience, and passion go to work for you. Contact us today and let us assist you through this process. Our phone number is 423-473-0202, or you can find us on the web at edjacobs.com.
Guns, guns, and more guns. That's right, folks. U.S. Money Shops has just received a large shipment of pre-owned Glock 22s, 23s, and the awesome Beretta 8040D Cougar. These guns are law enforcement trade-ins that start at just $379.99 while supplies last. At U.S. Money Shops, there's no shortage of guns, so if you're looking for a great deal on a newer pre-owned gun, then check us out first.
Buy or sell or buy today, the better way at U.S. Money Shops.
Visit usmoneyshops.com for the location nearest you.
This is Mike Hodden with All Mail Salvage. We at All Mail Salvage are having Customer Appreciation Week, March the 14th till March the 21st. The first day of spring, we will raising our prices from $5 a hundred on shred to $6.75 a hundred on shred. We're raising our prices on copper from $1.90 a pound to $2.30 a pound. Whole cars are going from $5.50 a hundred to $7 a hundred. The aluminum cans we're raising from 40 cents a pound to 68 cents a pound. This is only for this week, and we'd like to see you come in. On the 21st is the first day of spring, and we're hoping to have a great spring this year. And we're also going to have hot dogs and hamburgers on March the 18th, 11 to 1. This will go on from the 14th till the 21st. We hope to see you there. Thank you from All Mail Salvage. All Mail Salvage is located at 1050 Inman Street. Our telephone number is 476-0064.
All of my friends that I loved yesterday have gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. The songbird
I'm about to whip somebody there.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in a shopping mall. Where'd the old town go? Did my hometown get old, or just me? Did all my friends get old, or just me? Are they all gonna have to be told, or just me?
Welcome back to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. We got a couple of our favorite guests on here today, P. Dab Matthews and Doyle Palmer, and we're here to talk about the history of Cleveland and growing up country. Go ahead, call you live.
Hey, this is Mr. Moon. At Birchwood tonight, we've got one of the better bluegrass bands around, Valley Grass.
Valley Grass is a
Valley
good.
Grass. What time does that start?
7.
7 o'clock.
$5 admission.
And
Right.
it's a family atmosphere, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Good for you.
Now, where is this at?
This is at Birchwood.
Birchwood Opry.
Right. And now tell me about the concession stand.
I'm sorry.
Tell me about the concession stand. I'm always interested in
They
that.
have some good barbecue.
That's what I always hear there, yeah. Oh, hot slaw and good barbecue. And it starts at what time?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. If you go out Highway 60, I was about to say 58, cross 58, go into Birchwood, right across from the
whole school.
That's right. You can park in no parking lot of the school, can't you?
Yeah, wherever you can, really.
Yeah, and so they usually have a good crowd.
Yes,
They got
tonight I'd say they'll have a big crowd.
Valley Grass, a great bluegrass band, and then they got barbecue and hot slaw.
Yes, sir.
Man, what a night.
I know it's hard to beat.
Yeah, call us back anytime you have these great shows.
Thank you.
Yes, okay, thank you.
So glad
Bye-bye.
that people offer things for the whole family.
And
That's good.
We play for some reason it started before I was through talking, then Matador come on before we got back, so I don't
It
know
was
what.
exciting there for a few
I
minutes.
don't know
We
what's
were
gonna-
talking, but right before the break, that a pillar of the religious community here in town passed this week, and that's Reverend Reed Wright. And our
Yes.
sympathies go out to his family. And I remember when he was at Macedonia Baptist, and I believe you said Candy's Creek, and he's just been a
No, and,
He was
in
a
the-
well-known
that's what I'm trying to say.
Inspiration to a lot of people.
There
and
you
it-
go.
As always, we play "Gone Home" to honor anyone in this community that's lost a loved one, and so thank those people a lot. And I actually talked to my old buddy Bob Cash this week on the phone, and he keeps wanting me to give him Red's phone number, and I told him I don't know if I could do that because Red threatened she'd kill me if I did. So just want to pass that on.
Yeah.
I talked to good old Bob Cash there this week.
I think we're going to talk a little bit more about Bowater.
Bowater. Go ahead there, Doyle.
Well, what I remember about Bowater is they had some people that went out in the community and explored this old marginal land that we had, and they bought it from a lot of our local landowners, and they set that in pine trees. And I think they were talking in terms of maybe 18 to 20 years they would be able to grow a pine crop. So then when the pine crop got ready, some people got a job helping to harvest it, and that brought some extra money into Bradley County. Now, there was a lot of people eventually might have been a little unhappy because their older generation had sold the land, and later it became more valuable. But at that moment, it was some extra money in the pocket that really helped those people.
It was progress.
And we did say that crop grew for 18 years, and as I became a teenager or just about to get out of high school, they started harvesting those crops, and the land in some areas looked devastated. But they went back in and planted, and I'd say they probably harvest that same land Three
Several
times now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they paid $35 an acre. It didn't matter if it was the richest farmland it was or the straight up bluff, rock bluff. They paid $35 an acre for all of it. Running price. That was what it was. That's what the cost
Well,
was.
that was
I'd like to have a
pretty
few acres of that, like at 35.
Well, now they'll sell it back to you.
I'm sure they would now.
For about
Well, they
3,500.
They have sold a lot of it off.
They've sold a lot of it out to the general public now.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
Go ahead, call. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, this is a turtle man. I just wanted to call in, get up with P. Dowd and Doyle there.
Hey, Turtle Man, how you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. I was wanting to find out if Doyle or P. Dowd be the one talking about burying people. They said back in the old days that they buried attorneys and politicians at 10 feet. Is that right?
It wasn't deep enough.
The only rule I knew back when I was a little boy was they were going to dig it 6 foot deep.
Well, I didn't know if that was true, but they said they done better deep. They went 10 feet with them.
Well, if they done it back then, they ought to go back to it today.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you my lawyer joke today. They said there's some bad news. There was a busload of lawyers run off into the ocean and drowned, and there was one empty seat.
Yeah, now.
That's
now,
my bad.
now.
That's out to all my lawyer friends out there that I might need someday, I hope. or
I just want to holler at P. Dowd there. And P. Dowd, you keep an eye on Doyle. I know him pretty well.
Okay, I will.
Well, they can get going here with some stories in a minute.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, like I say, and Mr. Alley, who came from Newfoundland, Canada, him and his family came down when he was a young man, and to start when Bowater started, and a lot of people in our community came from other areas. Charlie Fletcher came in from South Carolina, I think, to go to work here.
Yes, I was beginning my teaching career at North Lee Elementary, and I had an influx of sons and daughters of the people that worked up there, and I had a great experience with them. They had a lot of people that moved in from the Virginias, and I'm not sure what plant or industry was in the Virginias, but they had some experience working in those plants.
What a lot of people don't know maybe about Bowater, maybe people do, is on across the river, and you go down the Calhoun Road or river, that road on the other side across from there, that you go down about a mile, take a left, there's a big Bowater mansion back there.
Yes.
I forgot the name of the farm
It's
now.
close to Getty Mill.
It's, the Getty Mill, but understand that I can't think of the gentleman's name who ran Bowaters.
Yeah, I don't remember now.
But he built a big house back there, and he would entertain people when he flew into here. So that house is still standing. I don't know if Bowater owns it or if they've sold it or some big farm, but they called it the Bowater Mansion, and I've never seen it, but I know where it is.
Well, talking about that end of the county, we right now are in the midst of the same thing happening with Walker.
Yes.
There's a ton of Walker people moving in here. I have a niece that they own Cottonport Marina up there, and they had about 20-25 spaces fixed for camper trailers.
Right.
Well, they're in the process now of doubling that because of the Walker people coming in to help build that thing, and they're wanting a place to stay. And
I believe the fire department, was it the fire department in Charleston that lost so many of the firemen to Walker?
The Bradley County.
Is it Bradley County?
Bradley County lost. They lose 2 a month to Walker going up there. Well, they're paying $45,000 a year starting out.
Well, yeah, that's true. And you have to. I work in an industry where we try to find people jobs, and folks, it's not a problem in Bradley County or even in Hamilton
You
County,
might have to work hard.
find a job because Amazon constantly hiring people.
Yes.
And every time they hire more people at Bacher, every time they hire more people at Amazon, more people at Whirlpool, they go from the industries here that are not as paying as much, or beginning jobs, a Walmart beginning job or a McDonald's beginning job. So McDonald's is hiring every day, Walmart is hiring every day, Hardee's is hiring every day. Everybody in our community is hiring almost every day.
Every day.
Whirlpool hires a group of people every day for their call center. I mean, they hire people, and so Bacher. So this is a great place to live right now, and a lot of land.
And that's the way it was, I'm sure, when Bowater came in, is that it opened up a whole in Oland and all those older plants like that. Well, P-Dab, what else is on your mind today?
Well, there's not a whole lot on my mind, but you really don't want to know. But growing up back in those time, I grew up in the 40s, and that I was born in 1941, and we were just coming out of the Depression, and today, well, even when my mother passed away, she was still very conservative of everything she done. She would can 2 or 3 bushel of beans, and there wasn't nobody but her. I said, Mother, how many beans can you eat?
Somebody might be
you
hungry.
don't never know. That beats a snowball now.
My grandmother used to can beans all the time, and she'd never let us eat them because if we ever got hungry, we'd have beans. Now, them beans didn't last forever, but she wouldn't throw them away, and we had beans and beans that we had never opened and never ate.
My mother never threw anything away. She would, whenever we got to where we could freeze stuff, she would fill the freezer full of garden stuff. Well, she wouldn't have room to put it. She'd buy another freezer.
Makes sense.
I said, who's going to eat this stuff?
She's
there wasn't
been
nobody
hungry.
but her.
She's been hungry. She tried to feed people.
And she was still having memories of back during the Depression when they didn't have anything.
My dad used to try to tell me stories about the Depression, and I'd just roll my eyes, and he'd say, well, now, he said, you can roll your eyes if you want to, but we might have a cow tied up to the porch someday, and you'll be glad.
My grandmother also saved every time she paid anybody. She saved that receipt, and my dad tended to be a lot like that too, because one time they didn't give her credit for paying something, and she had to go pay again. It was devastating to them. And, it may have been $1.29, but wages were so low, so she saved every receipt she ever had. And then my dad was very guilty of this too, saving every receipt he ever had. You guys talked about, you've been on here before, and I just want to bring this subject up again.
Oh no.
Okay.
They look worried.
You guys told me that a lot of times you ate what you went out and shot. You even talked about taking your gun to school and setting it up out there and hunting on the way home, and whatever you shot is a lot of times what you have for supper. All right. Now, once again, explain the difference of why groundhog or muskrat is the better thing to eat.
It's all vegetarian. It's all vegetable. They don't. That's all they eat is. Well, they do eat.
Now the muskrat.
The muskrat is a vegetarian to a certain extent. They do eat little mussels out of the creek.
That's protein.
And that's.
But now, why is it better than a groundhog? What does a groundhog get? I don't even know what. I know what groundhogs do. They dig underneath my house.
Absolutely. They're a vegetarian.
They're vegetarian.
Yeah. They like dirt.
Yes.
They don't eat it. Dig. They love to dig. Yes.
They love to dig. But groundhog, I've tried to eat groundhog before, and I would have to be pretty hungry to go back to it. We never did throw a squirrel away. We always brought that thing home and cleaned it. We always tried to get as many as 4 because that would make a good...
A mess, my daddy would have called it.
Yeah, it would either make a mess or you could have squirrel dumplings, and it was hard to make without 1 or 2 because you got to have that fat to to go into the dumpling to make good dumpling. And squirrel gravy, rabbit. Now, you can't run a rabbit all day with a pair of beagles and eat that thing, 'cause it'd be so tough you can't eat it. What you want to do, you want to find one setting and kill it or catch it in a rabbit gum and harvest it that way. And quail, I know Doyle used to quail hunt a lot, and I did too. And that was a delicacy. I mean,
Doyle, is the quail meat dark?
Light color.
It's just like chicken breast.
It's really good.
Really good, real sweet meat. Yeah.
But you got to get quite a few of them to have supper, don't you?
There was a time when we could go out on Saturday morning with 2 good dogs, and we could easily find 6 or 8 coveys in Bradley County, and maybe just shoot at them on the rise. If we didn't want to hunt singles, we'd go find another covey. But we can't do that now. We have a lot of enemies to the quail, and they're not out there in the wild in this particular area
I know.
anymore.
Doyle, how did your mom prepare those? I mean, you guys got them ready for her to cook, I'm sure.
Yes, she just put them in a
skillet
and
with a
fried
little bit of
'em.
lard.
Yeah,
We
fry 'em.
put them in there you roll them in flour,
Mhm.
Roll 'em in
a flour mixture, and just put them in a frying pan.
Yeah.
And you fry them whole. They were about the size of a baseball.
Yeah.
Small, a little bit smaller than a baseball, and they would cook plumb through. They'd brown on both sides. Time they got brown on each side, they were done.
We had an eastern bob white that was a little bit larger than the little Mexican quail that got introduced to our area.
I don't think I've heard of Bob White in a long time. I can't do that whistle anymore. But
really, what done our quail in was the blizzard of '93.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. Habitat too, because I remember when I went to go quail hunting when I was a teenager one time, and I seen about 2 million quail sitting on 64 highway in the medium.
Yeah.
But when you got out where the fields were, they were gone.
Yeah.
But they had got smart and said, well, they don't hunt out here in the middle of the interstate.
We've got one of the worst predators that's ever been introduced to East Tennessee is a coyote. And if I had my way, every one of them would die. And I do my best to do that.
I've seen one down in behind the racetrack down there. I've seen one now, and it was running up the road. And that's the only one I've seen. Now, since they started doing that construction down near our house, Doyle, down, I live right across the interstate from you over there. I have seen a lot more animals now, and I've seen fox and bobcat and, of course, groundhog, skunks, and we've seen some turkey, but and of course deer. But we'd never seen bobcat or fox in our. You probably don't see a bobcat too often. You don't see we didn't actually see the bobcat. We seen the tracks in the snow. But we seen the fox, and then but groundhogs. I'd lived there 40 years and I never had a groundhog problem. I got them now.
They say, well, I don't know whether we've got bobcats in this part of the country. We've got them. They just don't come out. They're nocturnal, and they don't want to be seen, and they stay hid out.
We seen them it was a snow track, and it was a huge cat paw compared to a regular cat. So that would be so I knew what it was, and then asked some people, and they said, yeah, we do have them, but like say you would never see. If you seen one, it would be.
Now, guys,
a lot of animals, if you said during the day, you had to be worried they're rabid. Fox, raccoons, a lot of them, they're going to be rabid.
Guys, back in the day, did you hunt deer here? Did you ever eat deer?
No.
See, I don't remember, even living on a farm, I never saw deer. And I know a lot of them been released here now.
I don't remember the first deer I actually saw live in Bradley County. I remember they stocked them, P-Dab up there in White Oak.
Yeah.
And they brought them in. They had the picture and the banner of them turning them loose.
Grover Land was instrumental in bringing them in here.
Yes.
He was state representative at that time.
Turkeys. Did you guys hunt turkeys?
No.
See, I didn't see wild turkeys either.
We didn't have turkey.
They brought those in, and they've reproduced the best of anything they've ever done.
Yeah, we've seen whole.
Oh yeah, they're pretty good. You know, I've seen them down behind the house there, and then over towards Candy's Creek, back where my uncle lived, back over there. I see turkeys over there a lot, and back Bill Creech lives back over there. There used to be a bunch of turkeys in that area all the time.
So you guys, what about fish?
Oh, we fished all the time.
We caught a lot of fish. We caught catfish. We'd go over there on the lake on Friday afternoon, sometimes just before dark. And
what lake was that, Doyle?
Chickamauga.
Chickamauga Lake.
We'd fish all up and down Chickamauga, and I never really fished the Hiwassee River part that much, except over Blythe Ferry. I stayed mostly on the Tennessee part, but we fished for cat, crappie, stripe, but we'd go out on Friday afternoon just before dark, select our spot, and put our anchors down and fish over the side with a lantern. And we did that for years. A couple of P-Dab's uncles and we spent a lot of time on that old boat together on the river. We wore a lot of paint off. But we caught a lot of fish, and we'd start out with commercial bought minnows, and then later in the night, the shad minnows would come up and circle around the top under our lantern. We'd dip those up and fish with shad minnows.
Go ahead, call. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Well, good morning. This is Marilyn.
Hey, Marilyn. What's up, sister?
Well, all this stuff they're talking about, I'm like T. I've been there and done that, and no matter how romantic they make it sound to go to Alaska and live rustic,
that's the same thing I think, Marilyn.
If I have to get out of the car at Sonic and order because my window won't go down, I get upset.
Yeah, Marilyn, if you're like me, you remember Daddy killing those squirrels, and to me it just looked like a big old rat in that pot, and I would not eat that. I would have starved to death.
I can remember eating frog legs. He would
I'd love to have a big plate full today.
He only said that they were only good if they jumped around in the pan. I remember that.
Yeah. At some point, I ate stuff like that he brought in, and then I got wise and went, I think I'll go do something else.
But silly me, I'd go get a piece of bologna out of the refrigerator thinking I was being smarter than him. Now I see that wasn't too smart.
You don't want to read the package?
No, don't read the package.
I wanted to tell you that Bellfount Church tomorrow night at 6 o'clock is having a redback hymnal singing.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay.
If you've never been to one of those, you need to go. We went to one at Gum Springs 3 or 4 weeks ago. I mean, the spirit gets so thick, the hair will stand up on the back of your neck.
Okay.
And it is just good, old-fashioned singing, and everybody would enjoy it.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
All righty,
We're
bye-bye.
enjoying it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.
So what's the weirdest thing you think you ever had your mama fix and eat?
Or just, I don't know about weird, but different.
I would say the groundhog.
Were you really hungry because she's eating groundhog, or y'all just happened to shoot one?
I killed it, and I was going to eat it because I'd never eat one. I brought that thing home, and we skinned it. Took us about 2 hours to skin it, and we cleaned that thing, and it took longer than that to cook it, and everybody in the valley knew that somebody was cooking something. And we didn't eat the groundhog. We couldn't stand it after we.
The groundhog seems to me that that's a land animal, but it seems like to me that it would look like a beaver. Have you ever cooked a beaver?
I've never cooked a beaver, but now a beaver is a delicacy in some parts of the country, parts of the United States. I get a lot of fur and trapping magazines, and some of the places they trap the beaver, get the pelt, and then sell the meat.
There's one of those Alaska shows, on one of those reality shows where they live up there that they trap beaver and as for meat all winter long. So. I've never had beaver, and I've never had
a
groundhog.
beaver is another vegetarian. All they eat is bark, wood chips, and to eat one, yeah, I would eat one if I was hungry.
Just try.
Oh, if you was hungry,
yeah. I mean,
right now they're Walmarts.
You put slaw, hot slaw on most anything. Ron will eat it. What about you, Doyle? What was the most unusual thing you think your mom ever cooked?
My mother was pretty particular, Deb. She grew up in a family of several brothers, and their mother had taught her very well about that stuff that her brothers brought in that she culled. So I really knew ahead of time not to bring it. So frog legs, fish, quail, rabbit, squirrel, deer, those things. She would handle those okay, but the others, we never
I do
tackled
remember my dad bringing in a possum, and I can still see the look on my mama's face, and she said, "Well, I'll cook this one." And it was greasy and slimy, and and she just she didn't enjoy cooking it at all.
What about
and it too looked like a
the
big
muskrat?
rat.
You said was a better meat.
No, the beaver. The beaver
but you said muskrat was better than groundhog.
Oh Lord, yeah.
But was it good?
Well, it was okay. Yeah.
Now, did you ever kill a snake and eat it?
No. No.
Let's see.
No, I mean, we did draw the line, like Doyle said. We draw the lines certain places.
Now, have you ever had rattlesnake meat? Have you ever ate it?
No, never have.
I have ate rattlesnake meat. They cut it up in round things, and they deep fat fried it, and it tastes just like chicken. And you know what I say? If it tastes just like chicken, I'm just going to eat chicken.
Yeah. Every time I see a possum, I go back to the movie Lonesome Dove. Mm-hmm. That boy skinned that possum on Lonesome Dove. Man alive.
I don't know.
Raccoon would probably be okay. I've never tried any, but
it's probably tough.
Yeah. It's real stringy.
Yeah. Hey, go ahead, call. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron, this is Mike Smith.
Hey.
Let you guys know that you always have some great shows, but some of the best ones I've ever listened to is when Doyle and P-Dab's on there.
Appreciate that.
Good morning, Mike.
They're entertaining, and they've got a lot of knowledge of what's went on and stuff that went on years ago, and it's a pleasure listening to them. But one thing I was going to mention to you was I've got a few acres out Georgetown. My son and I put out some trail cams out there just to see what we had, and you're talking about bobcats.
Mm-hmm.
We got a picture of a bobcat right in front of the trail cam up on a tree about 6 foot. And
wow,
that was one of the better ones. We've had wild hogs and bobcats and coyotes and all kinds of stuff on those trail cams, but there is coyotes and there is bobcats I know running around Georgetown.
Well, now I've got on my trail cam, I've got deer and I've got raccoon. And but I haven't got any. And I got a possum one day. I threw some old apples out, and this possum comes into the picture, circles the apples, picks out the big one, and then picks it up and leaves. He didn't want to stay around and eat.
Well, that one picture I got of that bobcat, that was the only time I've ever got a picture of the bobcat out there.
Well, that's a good picture.
Yeah, over about the last 5 years, that's the only time I've ever got a picture of it.
So now you say you have wild pigs out there too?
Yeah, we got some wild hogs out there, and a little bit of everything. It's like going through Cades Cove.
Yeah, you know, those wild pigs breed pretty fast, don't they?
Never got anything. Like I said, I've had them out for about 5 years, and the only thing I've got is one hog, and I know it's the same hog because he's got a scar on him. One picture, or a few pictures of one single hog out there is all I've ever got. But I've heard the same stuff, that if you got one, you got a lot. Well, I've only had a picture of one.
Well, a show that, matter of fact, someone mentioned your name this morning, discussion we had, and it was good. But coming up in May, if everything works right, the family of Mr. Pig will be in here, our old cafeteria manager from Bradley High School.
Yeah, I talked to two of his sons during the last 2 or 3 weeks. Just happened to run into both of them, and you know how it is with us Bradley guys. Everybody gets together, and one subject that comes up a lot is Mr. Pig and the and the lunches we used to have that were so great that he took care of us. And,
Right. So I told them that they could come in here if they brought me the goulash recipe.
well, I was talking with him about the baked beans and the fish on Friday.
Oh yeah, that was a good day too. Yeah, you know I enjoyed all that, and something else that I know you'll remember is the old Junior ROTC program.
Yeah,
we're putting together a show on that also from the old Bradley days, and talk about some.
Was in that Junior ROTC.
Yeah, well, her and your wife and my wife are in there together.
Yeah, I still get told how well she can shoot a gun, so she keeps me straight by telling me how well she can shoot.
Yeah, well, it works too, doesn't it?
It does.
Right.
Enjoy the show, guys. Like I said, Dolan P. Dabs to you best. I enjoy it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Mike.
I asked a question one day, one of my trivia questions I asked on Facebook, what was Mike Smith's numbers when he played football at Bradley. He had two of them. One of them was Johnny Unitas' number, and the year before he was a number less, so he promoted up a number. So I think he was 18 and 19, if I'm not mistaken. That's a weird trivia that I remember, isn't it? Good morning, you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Brenda.
I didn't hear y'all mention alligator. Have y'all ate alligator before?
Well, there aren't too many of those in Harris Creek.
I love alligator.
I've had calamari. That's what you say it in the South, isn't it? Calamari.
I haven't tried any alligator myself.
I haven't ate alligator, but I did have rattlesnake, though.
It's delicious. We went down to Florida. My late husband was a preacher, and he was going down there to preach at this church, and we knew the preacher down there, and they'd been telling us for a while they were going to cook some, and we got down there, and they cooked a big old mess of alligator, and I mean, it was delicious. I loved it.
Brenda, you know what I liked to eat when I was growing up?
What?
Well, by the time I got to be any age where I could remember stuff, my grandma had got on commodities, and we called it welfare cheese.
Government
cheese. Government cheese and peanut butter. You could stick a spoon in that stuff, and then you could pick up the whole can with that spoon. And you remember that cheese?
Oh yeah.
I remember the cheese and the peanut butter. I don't remember whose house I had it at now, but I love cheese anyway. I'd eat cheese no matter what.
Boy, that stuff was tough too.
It'd make a grilled cheese sandwich, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd hold those pieces of bread together.
I tell you what's good on a grilled cheese sandwich, and that's Thousand Island dressing.
Oh,
it is. It's really good.
Big piece of tomato on there doesn't go wrong.
That's right.
That's right. You can get a good tomato.
No, if it's good, it's a mater.
Yeah, it's a mater. I had some tomatoes here at the house a few years ago, and I had tomatoes for as long as I could possibly eat them, but this past year, I told my husband to get me some tomatoes, and he come home with those little bitty, I guess you call them cherry tomatoes.
Tommy toes.
Yeah, that's what I used to call them too, Tommy toes. But I couldn't do much with them.
Nope. Kind of hard to do anything
hard
with
to slice, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
It takes a lot of them to fill up a sandwich.
Yeah, it sure does. It takes a whole lot of them. Well, y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Brenda.
Enjoying the program.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What do you? There's a little tomato pepper that I want to keep. They used to put them on salad bars all the time. What kind of pepper is that?
The little red ones.
It looks like a little tomato, but it's green, and they used to put them on salad bars.
I can't think of the
name
of it. But
I want to try to grow some of those because I like them.
They're pretty simple to grow.
Yeah, well, nothing's simple for me to grow, but you know.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about your gardens. I imagine growing up that, like you say, if you wanted to eat, you had to shoot a lot of time you made, or if extra meat. I guess you did have cows and pigs, but.
I can remember several times in the summertime, Mother would set the table, and it would be a feast to people today. She'd say everything on the table you see is come out of the garden except the bread. And,
Oh, mercy, that cream corn.
the corn, the potatoes, green beans, tomatoes,
okra,
sweet potatoes, okra, squash, and she would cook it all at one meal. And you know, that's what we had. She cooked that every day, as long as it was in season.
I know my grandmother on down in Tinga, Georgia, on Sunday. There was always a feast there every Sunday, and whether anybody showed up or not, which we all did.
Yeah.
But now, did you learn from your daddy and your grandparents how to grow them gardens? I mean,
Yeah.
What tips did they give you to help it grow?
You plant by the signs.
Well, they back years ago they used to, but this way the weather is now, you plant when it's weather fit. Just about.
Yes,
Somebody tore down the sign, didn't they?
Yeah, they tore the sign down.
Hey, let's get this call. Go ahead, call. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey there, Ron. This is Brenda Moore.
Hey.
I haven't
Brenda.
mentioned the ramp tramp yet. My stepdad used to go up on Frog Mountain, and him and a bunch of his buddies. Of course, I think the main reason was to go up there and get drunk.
Well, you gotta have refreshments.
No, Brenda, no.
He would come home, and he would be stinking to high heaven. So.
Now, did he do ramp tramp before? I mean, did he dig the ramps before ramp tramp, or he was digging for ramp tramp?
They were digging for ramp tramp.
Yeah, I imagine that's been going on 30 or 40 years now.
They had potatoes. They would fry potatoes with them. But when he came home, he stunk so bad that we couldn't stand to be around him. But let your host or whoever there talk about that.
Okay.
When was it from the ramps or from the whiskey?
Well, it's a combination of both.
Let me tell you, I've been to the ramp tramp several times, and going there early in the morning having pinto beans and
streaked meat
and ramps, and early in the morning. That's pretty tough.
That's pretty tough. You'd have to, and he was pretty tough. Thomas Murphy was his name, and we called him Murph. And had that burr haircut, like military. We always got a kick out of him. He was a lot of fun. So, and then first something strange that I ate when I was a little girl, Faye Hodge invited me to her house, and we had peanut butter and pickle sandwiches.
There you go.
Peanut butter and pickle. Was it sweet pickles or dill pickles?
It was dill pickles.
Woo,
but that was pretty good, and I thought poor little Nancy Smith was poor because she had fried potato sandwiches.
Fried potato sandwiches.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good now, but back then it's like, ooh.
Yep.
The only thing I didn't like to eat was lima beans, and the rest of it was fair game.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was good talking to you.
Thank you, Brenda. Bye-bye, dear.
Well, there was one thing about it. Whenever we went to school, before they, whenever we start school in the beginning, they didn't have lunches. They had to, it might be 3 or 4 weeks up into the, before they would have the money to pay the cook, get all the commodities in and everything. But anyway, when you carried your lunch to school, they knew what you had because it bled through that brown paper bag.
Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning. Does everybody remember watermelon pickles?
Watermelon what?
Pickles.
Oh,
pickles.
Yeah.
Watermelon pickles, yes.
They use the rind of watermelon and make pickles. My aunt used to make sweet pickles, and oh my goodness gracious, nothing like it.
Well,
I reckon you can pickle about anything.
Well, and you had to.
Well, Bob Cash is a proof of that.
All right, y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did ramps grow around here?
No,
they grow so high up on the mountainside.
On the side of the mountainside, and they're actually, I think, I don't think they're an onion family, more of a lily. I think they're actually.
They're an onion.
I think
they smell like an onion.
They're like an onion.
They look a little like a lily growing, though, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. As you walked up there,
I don't know. I've never eaten any of them. I don't know.
Well, you will remember it, and you will need some breath mints after you get done.
They say they're pretty rank.
But down they do have that big festival up there, and it's been entertaining there, and there are people making lye soap usually, and and drink sassafras tea. That was the first time I ever drank that.
They have one at Coca Creek too.
Yeah.
I have a big one up there. It's really turned into a big outfit up Coca Creek.
Mm-hmm. So, but now, did you grow? Was your vegetables those basics? And we talked about okra and corn and tomatoes and potatoes and things like that. Did you grow anything those that?
We always had a bed of turnip greens, mustard. You could grow radishes, things like that, even in the fall.
Oh yeah.
And then in the spring, we'd put our warm season.
Right.
You had to be careful about putting them out too early; they'd get killed. So your beans and okra, squash, cucumbers, things like that, you got to put them out and get them up after the threat of bad weather.
You can't put out some. Yeah. You can plant radishes early and some
onions.
Onions. You can't put potatoes out. I guess. Yeah, things
lettuce
like that.
And stuff like that. You can put it out now. It'll be in the ground now.
Tomatoes, pepper. Well, you can grow 2 or 3 different kinds of pepper: bell pepper, banana pepper, your different hot peppers that's out there. I grow a little cayenne. Don't eat much of it, but I have some neighbors that love it, so
I made some
keep them supplied.
I grew some cayenne peppers last year, had different varieties, and I put them in my dehydrator and dehydrate them. Well, let me warn you, as you dehydrate those peppers, they're putting a fume out into the house. And then I took them, and they're dried, and I put them in my blender and ground them up and made little flakes out of them. We use in chili and things like that. Well, I would recommend that you wear some gloves and wear some masks, because when you grind them, there's more fumes come out. I don't know where all those fumes come out of those things, but there's we still there's a lot of peppers that come down. There wasn't a lot left, but we hadn't used them all because it's warm.
But basically, anything that came out of the garden, my mom knew how to preserve it in some way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they
lots of different ways. Tomatoes, she done all kinds of stuff with that.
Man,
you had a program on here. I don't know, a couple or 3 weeks ago about the cannery. Now those people out there that teach that stuff, that takes care of that cannery, it would pay these young people to go out and pay attention to what they do and what they're saying, because that is going to be a lost art.
Oh yes,
within the next generation.
Well, it's you're right. Because now I work in this Junior Master Gardeners program with the court systems and the Bradley County Masters. I've been going to that and these young teenagers had no idea that a carrot grew in the ground.
Right.
I mean, it came out. I thought it came from Walmart. I mean, that's
absolutely.
So. And it's pretty interesting, they come in first time rolling their eyes and before the end of the season, and these kids have grown some unbelievable vegetables.
We've got people right here in Bradley County don't know where milk comes from other than Walmart or the grocery store. And in Bradley County, there's only about 4 or 5 operating dairies right now left, and we've got one of the premier dairy farms on our side of town in Bradley County, next door to us.
What is that?
Is the Beatty Farm.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I've been on top of that hill above the Beatty Farm. Woo!
Yeah.
That's high up.
those boys stay on top of what's coming out new, and they stay up with it.
It's pretty interesting that now they take the feed and they analyze the milk and. They give different feed. If your cattle's not producing, they actually give you a different type of feed. Now, used to, it's just whatever the cow ate and how much milk it give, right?
Every cow's got a chip. And when it walks into that stanchion, it registers, and it tells how much that cows are given every day. Keeps a record. And when it starts to dwindle away, they put it in their pocket. And take it to market.
Doyle, when you was growing up, where did you get your milk?
Well, we had a cow. For a while, we had 2 cows. I remember one of the earliest ones.
And now he's bragging.
Was Old Beauty.
2 cow family.
Beauty wasn't a very large cow, but she gave just enough milk for a family of 4. and we would have some left over to churn and get our butter and buttermilk. And then later on, my dad became a little more enterprising, and we got 2 cows, and we actually sold some milk.
Now, what
sweet
kind
milk.
of cows were they?
We had Guernsey cattle. The reason we had Guernsey cattle was because Vernon Lackey,
oh yeah,
Herbert's dad, had a Guernsey herd, and we would get our young cattle from him, and so Mother would churn, and we'd sell butter and buttermilk, sweet milk. Some people would come to the house and pick it up, and then sometimes on Saturday morning we went to town. That was tradition to go to town on Saturday. We would take a box of milk and butter with us to deliver to our customers.
What about you? I'm sorry,
I got
Ron.
called out. I'm sorry. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron.
Hey.
Hey, Red.
Hey, I just have a comment here.
Oh, no. That always worries me, Red.
Who was it said their grandma always cooked a big dinner on Sunday?
That was Ron.
That's me.
My son said he wondered what that was like.
Well, we're having Ron's birthday party Monday.
Well, let me tell you,
about as close as I get to cooking.
I have forgot at my house now what it's like.
Well, he finally forgot too, so he wanted to know what it was like.
And my mom was the youngest in her family, and she never had to do any of the cooking. And now I didn't go hungry, as you can well tell, any of my lifetime. But my mom wasn't the greatest cook. Her biscuits were probably was nothing to brag about. I have to say. I hate to say, my mom's biscuits. We threw them out to the dogs one time, and they buried them. And I'm serious, you know.
Now, my mom would make big, what we call cat head biscuits, and my dad would carry it to Dixie Foundry in his lunchbox for a sandwich.
My grandmother made banana pudding, and
pudding.
I was the smallest of the grandkids, and I never got any. And so now that I'm the biggest of the grandkids, I wish she was here to still cook some, because I'd eat the whole bowl.
You just take the whole thing.
That's right.
Ron, let me say one more thing about Bowater before we
Go ahead.
leave.
Go ahead.
I didn't intend to make us a
Thank you,
Bowater
Red.
program,
Okay.
but
My dear.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I
all right. That's right.
One thing I remember, it caused people to adjust their lifestyle. They had the swing shift, and they would work a day, evening, and late at night. And
that was really unusual.
Even the kids had to learn to behave during the daytime when they were in the house, while the dad was in the bed asleep. And it was a dramatic change for a lot of families.
Now, guys, did back in the 50s, would the factories have a third shift?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I knew that my dad had worked second shift, and it was odd to us.
Yes.
Yeah, that he would work second shift. But I didn't remember if people actually worked third shift then.
Well, see, the swing shift was they would work a day, evening, and then a third, and then they would maybe get a couple of days off, Pete,
Something
and
like that.
then they'd start that cycle again.
So that was something that was real unusual here.
It was
the swing
very
shift.
unusual, and the dad had to sleep a lot in the daytime to be fresh.
And were they converting then from being having that cow and having those gardens, because now they're working different shifts, and the kids, a lot of time you couldn't depend on the kids to run the garden. So did you see a start shifting that you bought more, and of course they become had more money in their pocket because they were working these better jobs now. So
but they the way the shift was, they would have time in the morning to do the milking and taking care of things. And if they was on say the day shift, they would come in the afternoon and they would do the garden and things like that. But they worked around the shift and everything.
Because I guess the wives were still at home a lot and still could do the canning and stuff.
Yeah, we talked to the guy not too long ago saying his dad worked at Dixie Foundry, and said he'd work all day, then come home and plow and work in the garden all night and chop wood and all that stuff.
Yes.
I know
for a long time, our family, instead of when we were having to burn something to stay warm, I don't know. My family went with the coal.
Mm-hmm. We used to burn coal.
'Cause you didn't have to split it.
Yeah.
We burn coal and wood
And
mixed.
wood.
You know, it's hard to buy coal anymore. around
Jake
here.
Evans got coal.
Yep.
Did
Does he?
have. I don't know whether he still
Now,
got
what
any
would
more
somebody
or not.
use for it? I mean, what would they
well,
use?
there's people
still burn, yeah.
still use it. I went into a house the other day that I walked in and there was a heater in the living room and the stove pipe run out the window. But I mean, you know, they were just as happy as Junebug and the gourd.
Yeah, and if you were right there next to the heater, use good and warm.
Yeah.
Right there, I've got a picture of
Yeah,
a
we call
pot
it
belly
a-
stove right out in the middle of the room.
Absolutely.
And I used to see a lot of that back when I was in sheriff's department. I would go into houses and they were burning coal, or they'd had that firewood. That wood scraps from the
sheriff factory.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're burning it with some coal.
Yes, sir.
We had a warm morning heater.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, a warm morning.
Something we're going to mention real quick because we're out of time here, and something is that we're talking about growing here in Bradley County. One time was a huge producer of strawberries and strawberry plants. I know the Lackey family was very involved at it, and on your family out on the west side, there was a lot of people. And tell real quick about that. You know I know you claim your back's not too good because of strawberry picking. I know your family was involved in it.
Let me just mention one thing, and then I'm going to let P-Dab take over. He mentioned his uncle that was up in Owl Holler. That little garage building, P-Dab, is still there.
Yeah.
People are keeping it painted. It's nice and white. And I'm just wondering how old it is, and it'd be hard to find
it was
out.
Probably, I know Doyle can tell me. We raised mainly for plants. We ship plants all over the United States and Puerto Rico and places like that. And what we didn't dig and ship up for plants, we would pick in the spring. And over in Dayton, they had a packing house over there. We would take them over to Dayton if we had more than we could sell around here local. It wasn't like it is now. You pay $3 for a cup full. We were lucky to get $3 for 24 cups in a crate. Yeah. And we would take them to Dayton, and they would pack them over there. It's a freezing house. They would freeze them and pack them and freeze them over there. And it was pretty rough work because everybody had them, and the population wasn't that big, that great back in the 50s as it is now. That you didn't have what you call a subdivision. There was a subdivision in Rolling Hills, might have been, maybe, I don't know. That was among the first one. But in the latter part of the 50s and 60s is whenever they started building the subdivisions and things. And probably Bowater was instrumental in that.
Yes.
That, Nolan, bringing in people. Same way with Barker right now. They're bringing in, but they're a little higher end technical people to run that.
Do they? How many plants did you put out per acre? You told me. I think
we put out. We'd probably put out 8,000 to 10,000 per acre.
And that wasn't with a machine, was it?
No.
That was with your back.
A little hand trowel.
Little
put
hand
them down,
spade.
Put the soil around them and pack it.
That's one. And then also you told me that you had to plant new plants on new ground every year.
Well,
that's right.
So somewhere along the way you got to be clearing ground all the time.
We did. We tried to clear 5 acres, 5 to 7 acres every year.
Wow.
I mean, it was just going right out in the open, right out in the woods, and start cutting trees down.
Yeah, you said you decided on the side of a hill too, and everywhere. So they
Trying
grew
to
pretty
get
well.
on the east side.
Okay, so they got the morning sun.
Because
Right?
you got the morning sun.
Is that right? The east side.
And
yeah, right.
How long would the plant have to grow?
They would mature over the summer. Right now, you would try to have your plants all set by now. And time November would roll around, you could start digging them and shipping them.
Okay.
When the sap went down, that's when you could put them on cold storage. We got to where we could keep them from indefinite, really, on cold storage. When you freeze that plant, it freezes the germination. It don't germinate.
Okay, let me ask you a question. You planted all these plants. Where did those plants come from?
Well, we had to order. We got to where we had to order them from a nursery.
Mm-hmm.
They were growing some in parts of Arkansas.
Arkansas was a big plant farm.
Yeah.
Out
Now,
there.
did you get some plants from Dayton? Dayton's always been a strawberry type. So,
Yeah.
But and then we had a cooler system finally built here in Cleveland over on Euclid or Waterhouse Street over there.
Close to the railroad.
Yeah, they had a cooler over there that we could keep them in for a while. And then a lot of the individuals, my dad had his own cooler, and my uncle had his own cooler. And then when my dad went out of business, John Paul bought the cooler, and it's still got it.
I know there's a little booklet I think Bob George wrote. Maybe is that who wrote it?
Or Snail. I don't remember.
Anyway, it tells about the history, and I don't know where we've got one. I think about them getting together in the early 20s and deciding to build 1920s to make this a agricultural strawberry site. And I know Lackeys were involved, and I mean there's a list of the names.
Yep.
And then I forgot how many. We were shipping it out by rail at one time, the strawberries and then peaches out of here. It was unbelievable how many we shipped out of here. And then I know you guys, and I know read this too. They're saying that there was different things happen. You get bad plants, you get diseases, and then as more and more people went to factory jobs, it get harder to find people to pick them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
I told John Paul Bancroft before he passed away. I said if we would have had the help that is available right now, the Mexican help that's in here, we would have been rich.
Mm-hmm. That's where your strawberries come from today.
One
Folks,
more
it's already after 12.
thing.
Go ahead, Doyle.
I know you're out of town, out of time, but these were certified growers. They had certified plants. They were state inspected, and we only had a certain amount of certified growers.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally, some other people would grow a crop, and they would market them through the certified grower. I know my uncle did that a lot, and Vernon Lackey. And I'm sure the Matthews family did also.
It just didn't happen. It was well organized.
It was well organized.
Were you not on one of the boards or something at one time?
Your dad or uncle, maybe.
Well, I wasn't directly connected with the plant business. My uncle John Paul Bancroft was pretty active with Matthews and Vernon Lackey.
Yeah.
And then over in Hamilton County, there was another group of the Ramseys and McDaniels, maybe Holders. There was a clan of those people that grew a lot of plants over there. It was really big business at one time.
It was, and
I mean, it wasn't nothing to go over in Hamilton County and see 25 acres in one field of strawberry plants.
Well, guys,
and 100 people working at one time in the field working.
Wow.
And you can't get
three
five.
people to
You
show
can't
up.
get 5 to work now.
Well, folks, you got to promise me you'll come back, because we could have talked for another 4 hours.
And next week, my buddy John Cook's coming in with me and probably get another guest. And we're going to talk about things you can't get anymore. Like service. You might.
That would be the big
one. Candies and different foods and products and things. We're just going to talk about things that we grew up that we all enjoyed growing up. I want to say real quick. We hope everybody give your prayers out. Deb has her surgery this Wednesday, so if you'll add her to your prayer list tomorrow there at church. And she's done tremendously well, and we're real excited about getting towards the end of this. Another big stepping stone in her cure here. So, and then as always, we like to say, write down your history, take pictures, get those old pictures out, and get someone in the family to write the names on the back of them. Because if you don't, we won't know when those relatives die and pass on. We won't know. We won't know who they are. And I always say that everybody will remember Pearl Harbor, but
will they remember Aunt Pearl? See you guys next week.
We'll see you next week here on Old Town Cleveland.
Good day.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in the shopping mall.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into